Devlog number 30. So I was not sure I would be able to do this today because I just had this game in a million little pieces and I just got it compiling and running again as of like 30 minutes ago. Things are likely to be extremely broken, so much so that I'm just preemptively running this in a debugger right now. Where's my GDB invocation? There it is. Hope I can escape when I'm in full screen mode. Should be able to if it crashes. When it crashes, it's very likely. So let me talk about what I did. At the end of last time, I was hoping to just get my scenario editor into good shape by implementing all the rest of the... I'm going to have to show some new stuff to get in here. Let's make a copy of test scenario. That's fine. Edit. Was hoping to get this in shape so that I could just use all of these things and start building the showcase scenario. The first thing I focused on was the save system. So I can actually save scenarios to disk now, custom ones, and they will stick around instead of me just making changes in memory. So first thing you'll notice that's different is that if I go to one of the built-in scenarios now, I don't get the edit prompt or rename or delete. I can't do any of those things. Oh, right. Okay, reminder to myself. There's a bug that if I delete the scenario that's currently selected, it stays selected and uses the deleted data, and it's all confused. So don't do that right now. So I can just look at the info. What are you doing over there? All right, so we got a confused... This is not something I expected to be broken. That's a surprise. Weird. The layout info just is totally in the wrong place. That should be attached to the info thing there. Okay. I can imagine reasons for that. Oh, and I can export. I'm not sure that makes sense. That might not make any sense. I'm probably going to remove this item for... Yeah, this item should be removed for built-in scenarios. All you can do with them is view their info and make an editable copy if you want. It doesn't make any sense to have an export button for a built-in one of these. Anyway, so once I make a copy or create a new one or import one, that's now saved in a directory on my disk. Let me see if I can dig up that directory. It's going to be in... Where do I keep this? Is it an app data? I don't know that it is. Oh boy, let's not go in here. This is a bad idea. I found it though. This is the right place. It's fine. This folder is empty. Right, because I haven't saved one yet. Okay, so right now, test scenario copy right here is only in memory. If I were to... Okay, so you'll see there's a little star in the window title at the moment showing me that I have unsaved changes. If I were to try to close this window, it interrupts what I'm doing and brings up this modal dialog where I can cancel and just go back to where I was, undoing the click on that button, or discard changes, meaning that if I click that... Okay, you can run again. If I click that, the test scenario copy that I made is now gone. Okay, so I made the copy. I'm going to say save. All right, exited normally. If I look back in that directory again, now I have test scenario 1.json here, and it'll be reformatted a little bit from what we're used to looking at because it's automatically formatted. And you know, my formatter makes different choices than I do. Like, for example, I wouldn't write this out this way. But anyway, it's the same information there. So that's on disk now. And I can go in here and edit it, and like, oh, did I crash? What's happening? Oh, no, I know what that is. That's just a missing UI connection. So you'll notice this this list that doesn't have the same number of columns, rows in both columns now. Some nonsense over here. I'll talk about that in a minute. But for now, let's not worry. Let's do something familiar. Like I'll go to health and say health, sure. So I renamed that. Now I have the star up here in the window title. Where'd my cursor go? It disappeared for a moment. I can revert my changes. Does this ask to confirm? No, it doesn't. It just does it. That should ask to confirm. All right, so now we're back to just health being named normally. So yeah, same as before. If I do that, I can cancel, save, discard. If I save my changes, yeah, it tells me that it did it if I just do it manually on that screen. And now on disk, the resource of health Sublime Text will have reloaded this file, right? Okay. A lot of things refer to health here. There it is, health. Anyway, yeah, so that saves to disk. And if I quit the game, right, this will let me close the window now. It will also pop up that dialog if I choose this quit option manually or use any keyboard shortcut to quit the application. Of course it won't if it crashes. I don't have a crash catcher in here, and even if I did, it wouldn't catch things like that. My plan is to save working copies somewhere so that when I restart the application with unsaved changes, it'll just put it in that same unsaved change state. Anyway, I wanted to talk about something real quick before I go on to my other changes and why this was broken into 100 pieces. So the way I'm thinking about building this application is I'm doing some very bottom-up design with this. So aspects of this may look very familiar to you if you've used any application that saves documents to disk, which if you've used a computer, you probably have. But I am opting to make every choice from scratch here about the way that this works. If I arrive at a conventional solution, like this more or less is, usually you'd see these in a file menu. I don't have menus in this application right now, and I don't plan to, so I just do stuff with buttons. But yeah, this is a more or less familiar paradigm for document-based applications. But anyway, if I arrive at something conventional like that, then I know that I've done it right. Those quotes don't come up as far as the ascender on the B. I don't like that. My quote character needs to be up higher. Okay, that's a font tweak for me. Yeah, that doesn't look right to me. Anyway, so yeah, just by doing this bottom-up design, I make sure that the decisions I'm making actually make sense. And if I don't arrive at a conventional solution, maybe I've invented something that works better for my situation. I just want the opportunity to have possibly invented something that is better for my situation than just doing the thing that is how things are always done. I just don't ever want to make that assumption. And that is the ideology I'm applying to this entire game. Another bit of spacing that's bothering me. This is closer to the top of that than it is to the left of it. Okay, spacing tweaks to make. Anyway, so let's talk about the other stuff. What's on my list? Okay, yeah, so I talked about all that. I can talk about the big thing, as well as I implemented the menu for editing equipment now. So that was the new one of these that I started with, just to get my things filled in. So I can change the valid slots. Sure, you can wear a sword on your head now. Why not? Sword gives 1 strength. It'll also give 1 endurance now. Sure, why not? And it'll penalize your move by 1. It's a very, very heavy sword. Okay? And all these edits apply. Every edit that I make in any submenu here will set the scenario to dirty. This shows up as different kind of window ornamentation on platforms where it's appropriate to do so, which currently is just the Mac, which I don't really care about much, but that's how it is. There's no operating system-wide convention I know of for you have unsaved changes on Windows. Just some applications put an asterisk there or somewhere, so that's what I'm doing. Anyway, yeah, so required stats, those aren't actually implemented in the game, but they're part of my data structure, so you can edit them here. And change icon, change name, change properties, all the familiar stuff. So yeah, equipment editor works. Anyway, so the big thing that happened was after I implemented my equipment editor, I thought, okay, let's take another big bite out of this. Let's do encounters. So previously, the word encounter meant something different than what it means today in this game. So over here, it used to be that these were encounters and these were puzzles. You might notice this has a P prefixed on it now, whereas it didn't before. So I had this idea in my mind that my data structure just wasn't quite right. And I thought, okay, now's probably the time to change it. So the first thing that I did was I split the concept of an encounter from the concept of a battle. So what an encounter is, let's go to the data structure for or let's go to the JSON file for this. This will make the most sense. So this is what's actually saved in the scenario. I can't quite show it in the editor yet. So a battle. So battle 1, that's the non-human readable identifier. This one has no display name, doesn't need one. Has a battlefield with a grass tile, an enemy battlefield with a grass tile, and enemy champions. So you're facing this one imp who's at this position, takes these actions, has this equipment, etc. So that's what a battle is. It's just that information, the things that show up. Where's my application icon? Huh. Somehow that broke, of all things. Okay. Well, my application icon's gone for some reason. I'm sure that's easily fixed. Don't worry about it. So yeah, like when I go to this screen here, pretty sure this all still works. Yeah, so battle specifies all the stuff that's on this screen. Encounter now references a battle. So this is an encounter, and this is also an encounter. It used to be that puzzles and encounters were two sibling concepts. Both had the battlefield and enemy champions and enemy champion actions and stuff. Puzzles had this stuff alongside their own starting inventory. Is this going to crash? No, not yet. Do I have the right inventory here? I think I do, yes. Oh yeah, and it shows 0 out of 2 mages placed. I did make that change. That was another thing I did. I think I went as far as to have this work like, let's see, I can go here, right? Ooh, my unlock system isn't working at the moment. These should be locked. Okay, so first major obvious bit of brokenness. Okay, so I can go here without having cleared previous encounter. That's fine. That's not unexpected because I changed a lot of stuff in that area. So if I'd place a warrior here and then look at this grass tile and say, I want to place a warrior here, but a warrior is already placed there. Well, if I go here, I can just say reposition, and he'll come over there. If I win this battle, I can probably show what that looks like with multiple champions. Let's see if this still works. Here, I can get away with full screen. It's nicer. Sword potion, attack potion. Do your thing. This has my modified sword, which increases my endurance. That's why he's taking less damage, right? Is that what's going on here? Oh, where is your... There's no label there. 1 base 0. Okay, so that gets confused when I have a modified stat compared to my base. Yeah, my move is 0. My strength is 2, so that's up by 1. Move is down by 1. Endurance is up by 1. But my labels are missing when I print the things like that. Okay, that's fixable. That's fine. Everything is fixable. This entire game was written from scratch, and I can write it to do literally anything I want. Okay, so winning this battle is trivial. This is not the real scenario. This is a modified version. This pop-up still works. I was a little worried about that because this changed a bunch. Does show me the things I earned. Does it still work if I do this? Heck yeah, it does. Nice. Okay, so now I'm here, and I have warrior already placed. Here's a mage. So that if I go here and say, okay, that just looks basically the same. Whatever. That's fine. Don't worry about it. Anyway, yeah, so I can point at an empty tile and do things, and it makes sense. Anyway, so those are encounters. Puzzles. Now, let's look at the data structure again. Right, so a battle lists a battlefield and enemy champions. An encounter, or no, a puzzle references a battle. So puzzle 1 takes place in battle 5, puzzle 2 takes place in battle 6, and has an inventory. So I get 2 mages, 1 wizard hat. Shoot, I didn't do the cursor thing. Let's do it right now so you can see what I'm doing with my cursor. How do I do this? It's like mouse, pointers, this thing, browse. Where are you? Is it here? It should be. It is. Apply. Okay, that fixed my thing? That fixed my thing. There we go. Okay, you can see my cursor now. I wish Windows would remember that setting. I should look into how to make it do that. I'm sure there's a way. I just don't know it. Anyway, yeah, so a puzzle. Yeah, it comes with an inventory. So puzzle 1 has those things. Now you note that nothing anywhere in here for puzzle 1 or puzzle 2 or battle 5 or battle 6 or whatever says anything about P1 or P2. Those are not automatically generated anymore. New thread? Who started a new thread? That's a lot of threads. I don't have much multi-threading in this application. I wonder where all those are coming from. Like system framework stuff. Anyway, yeah, so an encounter is what ties all those together and places them on the map. So encounter 1, again, you won't see this identifier in the game, but its name is encounter 1, capitalized with a space. Its label is 1, so this is what determines what shows up on the map. So that label right there is specified there. If I look in this list, encounter 1, that's where that name comes from. And that's where it's positioned. I have this concept of map zones, the idea that there could be like multiple pages of maps here. That's still mostly unimplemented. I just have the data structure for it, so that's a thing that I have yet to do. But just like the zone is base, everything's in the base zone. X is 7, Y is 2. Cool. Color group is that. Yeah, so all of this information used to be, other than this, which is new, used to be in the battle, which used to be called an encounter, which is a little confusing, but yeah, encounter just split into 2 concepts, and puzzle changed a bit. Type is battle. Content is battle 1, so that's a battle identifier. Prerequisites. There is nothing required to unlock this. And rewards, right. So what this allows me to do is, 1, when I'm editing, just independently put together battles and determine where they go on the map, how they're used, separately from all this encounter information. 2, I could have, say, like story battles in a campaign that also have a puzzle variant which has a particular inventory going into it without having to duplicate that information in a separate battle configuration. So yeah, puzzles could reference existing battles that would have the same layout and enemy champions, give different rewards potentially, and have different starting conditions. So I just think it's a better thing for my data structure in general. It just makes more sense to be organized that way. Another new thread. Application's not even in the foreground. Like, I wonder what is doing this. I have no real insight into that. And yeah, so an encounter is now what lists rewards. So this map tile, clearing this thing, gives you the Mage Champion and the Fire spell. For all campaigns, I'll talk about campaigns in a minute. That's a word you might note that I have not used much until today, and there's a reason for that. Yeah, so encounter 2, etc., encounter 3, encounter 4, puzzle 1. So that's where the P1 is. So type is puzzle instead of battle here, and that references puzzle 1. So that's just one more level of indirection where it has to look up, okay, so puzzle 1 here references battle 5. But also comes with this inventory attached. So that's how that stuff works. It's a lot better. It makes more sense. And that led me into a couple of other major changes. I've been working on this all week, and I had a long weekend, and I was hitting it pretty hard, and I just barely got the pieces kind of put back together. Now, this was one of the largest refactors I've done in this game, and I've done some big ones. So, you remember those things called challenges? They're gone. There are no more challenges. Or, perhaps more accurately, they've been renamed to campaigns. So a campaign now is what stores the starting inventory. So like when I have, let's go select the normal test scenario. So when I just start here with no progress, and the progress will have been wiped out because the data format of everything changed, so it will have failed to load, but I'll reset that for real just because. Yeah, so like what puts the warrior in my collection, the sword, the potion, that's now determined by campaign. So I'm on the main campaign now. There is no such thing as having no challenge active. Challenge is now campaign. There's no such thing as having no campaign active. The default campaign is just whichever one is the first in the list. And yeah, there's no concept of like doing the, I don't know, it just, there was an arbitrary hierarchy there for no reason. So these are just 3 different ways to play. Oh boy, that noise is loud. To play through this set of encounters with different starting conditions and possibly lock conditions. So I could set one of these encounters. If my lock system were working, the whole purpose of this, what used to be challenge and is now a campaign, was just to lock battle 3. So you had to do battle 4, encounter 4, without the rewards of 3. So I can have, I had a different janky mechanism for this. Now I can have prerequisites based on what the active campaign is. So a very different experience could be crafted using the same base of materials for each one of these ways of playing. Or, you don't have to do that. You could, if you're making a scenario, you could just make it with the one main campaign, and I'd probably just have this button not even show up if that were the case. Because there would be no choice to make there. But anyway, so that was a pretty big change. Like everything that ever said challenge anywhere in my code base had to change to campaign, and also since the concept changed a little bit, a lot of code that used those data structures had to change. On top of that, I did another thing. There used to be this thing called the scenario data registry. I guess it's gone now. I've done an SVN update and it deleted the file, so I used to have these 2 parallel data structures that I kept for some reason. Like there was scenario data. Let's look at this. Where would this be? Source, Foresight Fight, scenario data.h. Scenario data.h. This scroll wheel feels way better than the one I use on my main computer. I should maybe switch mice or get it. I got another of these. The same model, and yet it has a different scroll wheel that feels worse. I wish if I got the same model of mouse, it would give me literally the same thing as I already have here. This was the mouse that was, I thought was breaking at one point because the left button wouldn't hold itself for drags. Like I'd try to do this and suddenly the text would reselect because it would think that there was a mouse up and a mouse down. But it stopped doing that. It fixed itself. So I just have the one mouse that I like and a bunch of mice that I don't like as much. I'm picky about my input devices. Anyway, what was I saying? Right, so scenario data. This is the basic data structure that lists out everything that is in, like this file, scenario1. Yeah, so that's the in-memory representation of this JSON representation of things. And for some reason, I had a second mirrored data structure where it was called the scenario data registry, where I would keep a separate hash table for each category here. Like when I wanted to look up, say, a champion, instead of pulling it out of this data structure, which I had around in memory, I'd ask the scenario data registry to go look up the champion with that identifier. In theory, that's certainly more efficient if I have like hundreds or thousands of records that I'm looking through, but these are likely to be in single digits. So just iterating through a list and comparing string pointers until I find the one that I'm after has less ramp-up time, so is probably just faster than doing the hash table thing. And also it lets me have just one data structure here. So anyway, that's technical details. But the long and short of it is that I had to go through my entire code base and replace everything that used scenario data registry, which was most of the things, with just lookup functions in scenario data, which are simpler and get directly at the actual data structure that's storing the real data instead of the second one. But it was a lot to change. Anyway, so those big refactors out of the way, I finally get to put my thing back together and keep on doing work on it. So yeah, those are the concepts that have changed. And yeah, I can edit. I can edit equipment now. Yeah, so these, I don't have a button on this screen for there's only encounters here. I don't have battles and encounters list. It does list encounters. Okay, that's good. Right, those do nothing. I'm clicking them and nothing's happening. So I need a battle editor and a puzzle editor. So encounters, battles, puzzles, campaigns. What went away here was starting inventory because that's now part of the campaign. So I need to either change the layout here or accept an unequal number of columns or... also this is incorrect. I was thinking it might be fun to fix this bug just right here, right now. So yeah, in my scenario warning list view, This will not... Right, there is no battle pop-up. There is no battle button, so I can't look at what a battle is. It's erroneously telling me Battle 5 and Battle 6 are defined but not used. That is incorrect because those are the underlying battle structures for Puzzle 1 and Puzzle 2. So sure, let's spend a moment fixing a bug. Watch this. I'm going to go into scenario data.c, I believe it will be. What function has warning in its name? Scenario data check for warnings. So I know that this is the function that's called by this list to get its information. And I have all these arrays of booleans, which are tracked as I walk through my... what are you? GLX shell. That's not relevant to what I'm doing today. WGL shell, also not. Scenario data.h, yes, so scenario data check for warnings takes a scenario data structure and some callbacks and calls those callbacks for every problem it can spot, doing an analysis of what's in there. So, you know, it detects that the haste spell has no visual effect assigned, so that's just like the structure of the spell effect. The visual effect field in the spell effect struct is set to null, so that's just a self-contained thing. But to determine that Battle 5 is defined but not used, this thing has to look through every other data structure that might reference a battle and keep track of whether it has been referenced or not. And at the end of this function, somewhere down here, I look through all my lists of booleans. Yeah, so like here's the battle list. So look through... Iterate over number of battles that are in the scenario. If one of the booleans is false, then call the warning callback for that battle to say it's defined but not used. So here's where it triggers the addition of this line to this list. So battles used needs to be set to true if a battle is referenced by a puzzle. So clearly it's being set to true if it's referenced by an encounter, because battles 1 through 4 are not complaining. So where do I validate my puzzles? Okay, so when I iterate over puzzles in this warning check function, all I do is check the player inventory and I don't pay attention to the other things. So somewhere in check encounter for warnings, it must register that, yeah, so I have a macro here, register identifier used. Yeah, C preprocessor, kind of complicated, not going to go into it, but anyway, so I just call this macro and it will set the appropriate boolean to true. So all I need to do is register identifier used for puzzles that use a particular battle. All right, that works. So right here, register identifier used, battles, battle count, this is going to be scenario, but yes, so this is the list in the scenario data, I believe. That's the number. I don't know why I passed these through the macro, but I do. I'll just trust that I knew what I was doing when I wrote that. This is the interesting one. So yeah, I'm just saying that this identifier for that list was indeed used, so you don't have to complain about it anymore. So if I do scenario, arrow, puzzles, puzzle index, dot, I believe it's called battle identifier. Now, how I know that is because I remember writing the code, but also, if I want to check, I can look at scenario data.h, a puzzle configuration, which is what we're iterating over here, scenario arrow puzzles, scenario data, puzzles, puzzle configuration star. So puzzle configuration has an identifier for itself and a battle identifier for the battle it references. And I just happen to know this mustn't be null, so I don't need to do a null check here. Yeah, okay, so this should register that that identifier is used. I'm going to quit this application. A new thread popped up for some reason. Rebuild it. Hopefully make doesn't take forever. since because I'm on Windows it tends to. It's going to take forever, isn't it? All right, it's doing it. Some very verbose GCC output. I have to pass a lot of arguments because I have a lot of source files and dependencies in here. It's a complicated video game. I would say it's only getting more so, but the refactor that I did actually simplified a lot of things. I was very happy to be able to delete scenario data registry. Okay, so now, having recompiled this should stop complaining. And there we go, it's gone from the list. No more complaints about unused battles. All right, cool. So I fixed a bug live on camera. There's not a camera pointed at me, but you know, there's a virtual camera pointed at the screen that I'm using. All right, yeah, so that's what I was up to. A very necessary bit of pretty extensive work. Starting inventory was the widest text in this column, and now that it's gone, I see that there's extra space here that I could trim off. Okay, giving more horizontal room for this, which would be nice because this is a little tight. That's not a lot of room to expand into. If you were to make a scenario with a very verbose status effect name, then you could easily overflow off the right side, and I could give a little more space for that. I should have a better handler for that, but right now I don't. Anyway, yeah, so making progress, always in unexpected directions, but always in good directions. Everything that I do here brings this game closer to completion. And I'll see you next time with whatever the heck happens, because I can never predict. I mean, I'm still working on the scenario editor, but maybe some other cool, exciting things will also happen. I'll see you then.